You did for the organisation. Part of your work involved telling women to have abortions. Is that correct?
It's true. I mean, when you're there, you have to take a look at it from this point of view. There's such an urgency to get everything done that the human qualities disappear, and you end up looking at people as how much money can they give to the church?
Yeah.
Are they capable of giving more donations? Can I take the staff member? Can he do what I need him to do?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't develop relations with these people, and sooner enough they become part of like a piece of furniture. Everything has a value associated with them.
So
when they lose that value, they're no longer worth anything to you.
So a pregnant woman in Sea Org was she was not as valuable because she was going to leave the Sea Org, and you'd have to have her post filled. Is that the reason?
Well, she's actually a liability.
A liability.
No, they weren't just not assets anymore. They're actual liabilities, because not only were they considering having a child, the problem with that is that now they're going to be off the church's lines, not on services looking after this child, and they can't work. So it's not just that they weren't worth anything, they were actually looked at as a liability. Having the child is a liability because it means if they do stay in the Sea Org or try to come back later, even when the child's maybe 4 or 5, then we have to look after that child, we have to feed that child, we have to teach that child. You have to give family time, maybe an hour a week, so that the parents can see that child, and you actually look at these people as liabilities.
I'm just wondering if anybody's told people in Scientology that children are part of the human race, that you do, that's a great asset that you have that helps you to get money out of people, do anything to nurture people, into your religion or out of it,
The ultimate trick is when you have people that are so dedicated to a religion that they can separate and believe that separation from their own families would be in the greater good of their own personal survival and the long-term good of their own families. We're talking about something so sick. It's hard to comprehend.
I just wonder when you say the urgency, what the urgency is around. It sounds very Nazi Germany, like there's a lot of, in Scientology, there's a lot of shifting of blame into things that people are doing, like, I'm doing this because of that. I just wonder where because somebody's, almost like brainwashed me, it sounds like, in Scientology. I'm just wondering where that urgency, if you can elaborate a bit more on, you said everything seems so urgent.
When you're within this organisation, the church, you're pushing to other people that the enemies are everywhere, that the enemies are far and thick between, the enemies are winning, the enemies are creating more, the enemies are psychiatrists, the enemies are doctors that are trying to cure cancer when it's really just something in your own head, when it's a creation of your own mind. Mm-hmm. And anybody out there that gets fed information that convinces them to be anti-Scientology is also now an enemy, and these people have to be fixed, they have to be corrected, and we're running out of time, and if we don't do this, then Scientology might fail before, world domination takes effect by an unknown enemy. And this is the constant threat. And when you have people in a constant state of believing that the time to act is now, they overlook the chance to evaluate. They overlook whether or not they can sit down and view the information. I mean, these people in the Sea Org are not allowed to watch TV. They're not allowed to listen to the radio. They are not permitted to read the newspaper. And they are informed that they nor their families are allowed to read any website or any information that is anti-Scientology at all. Most people in the Sea Org don't even know that the Church of Scientology has in fact lost many court cases around the world. Mm-hmm. Mm. When you're in there, you're told they win every single one.
Yeah. Now I want to talk about what you were required to do as the ethics officer in Sea Org, and you said that you had to, or that you participated in forced confinement and stuff like that, and also that it's not the exception that Sea Org members were a party to this, to treat each other like this, to either mete out bad treatment or to receive it.
That is correct. One thing I want to point out is that most Sea Sea Org members have their position in the organisation and they do what they do. They're in a fixed location. My job as the ethics officer or in the communications office, we're always around. We're like the police. We're always moving through the organisation daily. Therefore, it was my job to take these people into a separate office away from their colleagues and put them through these procedures. So most Sea Org members sit there until it's their turn and they don't see what their fellow Sea Org member goes through.
Yes, yes.
Although now we've got thousands of affidavits coming out about what they thought were the exceptions when really it was going on the whole time. I'll give you one example. I received a letter yesterday from a mother who has not been able to talk or see her daughter for 8 years in the Sea Org because every time her daughter tries to get leave, they always do this interrogation on her and find out that she's got a doubt about being in the Sea Org, so they won't let her leave. She wrote me a letter and asked me, how can she help? I had to write this woman back and say not only that I wanted to help, I had to confess to her that it was me that ordered her to disconnect from her own mum, her own daughter. It was me.
Yes.
The email response I got back was just after hours of tears from her going, how could you have done that to my daughter? She was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I answered her back saying, I know. I'm terribly sorry.
Yeah, I understand this is difficult.
You know, how do you do this? I had another email yesterday from a person who saw the video on the internet. This young lady at the age of 17, I took into my office, Laura is her name, and I told her that her family was anti-Scientology and anti-Sea Org, and that the best thing for her to do in her survival was to disconnect. Yeah. She chose to follow that. Yes. Now, years later, she finally managed to get out, and now she's suing the church. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And she was forced to have an abortion. Yeah. Now, if I hadn't have done what I did to her back then, if I'd been stronger morally, if the parents had had access to her, she never would have gone through that experience. Yeah. But you're coming out now. If Senator Xenophon does not get this inquiry, if Malcolm Turnbull does not allow this to occur, this Senate inquiry, we're going to get another letter in 3 years saying not only can she not speak to her, but her whereabouts will be unknown. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.